The Orbital Academy station Helios Crown floated in silent orbit above the blue and silver planet below. Its metal rings turned slowly, catching the light of the nearby star. Students from 20 different species lived inside the station, studying science, diplomacy, engineering, and everything needed for future explorers. Every day was loud, busy, and full of young voices. But today, one small section of the station felt strangely quiet. Inside the observation dome, a young alien girl named Vela of the Luminari stood alone in the center of the large room. Vela was small, with smooth pale skin that glowed softly like moonlight. She had delicate wings folded against her back, shaped like long petals, each one lit with faint blue light. Her eyes were large and bright, able to see tiny changes in light and emotion. Her people, the Luminari, were known for their gentle nature and their ability to sense feelings around them. Today was a special day for her. It was her birthday. She had planned her celebration for weeks. She had decorated the dome with long glowing streamers made from special Luminari silk. They shone softly, floating like ribbons in the air because the room's gravity was slightly reduced. Small star-shaped lanterns hung round the walls, flickering with warm gold light. The table in the center was filled with foods from her culture-sweet crystal fruits, soft cloud bread, and nectar tea that shimmered when poured. Vela looked around the room with hope in her heart. She had sent invitations to all her classmates. She had written each one herself, choosing warm words and friendly greetings. She was shy, but she tried very hard to reach out. This party was her chance to make friends, to show them a little piece of her homeworld. The station's chronometer beeped softly. 16 o'clock standard time. The official start of the party. She stood near the entrance, wings trembling with nervous excitement, waiting for the first student to walk in. 1 minute passed, then 5, then 10. The doors stayed closed. The dome stayed quiet. Vale kept telling herself, they are just running late. Maybe they are finishing class. Maybe they got lost, but she could feel the truth in the air. Her empathic senses picked up only distant emotions from other parts of the station. No one was walking toward her party room. No one was thinking about the decoration she made. No one was excited to join her. Her heart grew heavy inside her chest. She tried to ignore the feeling. She went to check the table, adjusting the position of a crystal fruit. She straightened a streamer. She lifted one of the lanterns and pretended to study its gold glow. But inside, she felt something tightening, like a small cold hand closing around her heart. It was not the first time she had felt alone, but this time hurt more than usual. She had imagined laughter echoing in the dome. She had imagined sharing stories of her home planet Glimerian, where the forest glowed at night. She had imagined showing her classmates how to fold the small light origami stars. She had imagined someone smiling as they tasted her family's traditional birthday nectar. Instead, the only sound in the dome was the soft hum of the ventilation system. Vale walked slowly to the large window wall at the back of the dome. From there, she could see the stars. Thousands of them, bright points of light against the dark space. Her wings glowed faintly in reflection. She placed her hands on the cold glass. In her culture, birthdays were not lonely things. On Glimerian, the whole community gathered for a child's luminance day. Families decorated their homes with glowing flowers, and music filled the air. Elders told stories. Children danced, and every night ended with the lighting of the sky bloom, a great orb of soft light. Released into the sky to carry a wish, she had dreamed that even here, far from home, she could share a little piece of that joy. But now the decorations looked strange and pointless. The floating streamers drifted without purpose. The table full of food looked untouched and sad. Vela felt her wings dim a little, their light shrinking. She whispered softly, maybe I made a mistake. Her voice echoed in the empty room. She walked back to the table and sat on the nearest chair. She folded her hands and tried to breathe deeply, but the ache in her chest would not go away. Her empathic senses made moments like this harder. She could feel the emptiness of the room as a hollow space inside herself. She could sense the distant excitement of students in other parts of the station. But none of that excitement was for her. It was like standing in the shadow of a warm sun. Unable to step into the light, she thought about turning off the decorations, packing everything up, and pretending that nothing had happened. She thought about sending a message to her family, thanking them for the birthday gifts they sent through the communication link. But she did not want them to worry. She thought about going back to her room and staying there for the rest of the night. She was reaching to deactivate the lanterns when something happened. The door hissed open. Vela froze in place. Her wings flickered with surprise. A figure stepped through the doorway doll, wearing a simple dark academy uniform with short brown hair and tired eyes. It was a human cadet. His name, she knew from her classes, was Jonas Hale. He did not talk much. Humans were usually loud, full of energy, but Jonas was not like that. He walked quietly, almost as if he didn't want to disturb the air around him. Vela sensed a strange calm in him, but also sadness, tucked deep inside. Jonas looked around the dome. He saw the decorations, the empty chairs, the untouched food, and finally, he saw Vela. She expected him to apologize or explain why he came, or maybe even say he was lost, but he did none of those things. Instead, he walked to the long table, pulled out the chair beside her, and sat down silently. He didn't speak. He didn't offer a forced smile. He didn't pretend that everything was fine. He simply sat beside her, hands resting on the table, looking out at the glowing lanterns as if he belonged there. Vela stared at him, unsure what to say. Her wings fluttered nervously. She did not understand humans very well. They were unpredictable. Sometimes they talked too much. Sometimes they acted strange. But Jonas was different. She sensed something in him, a quiet kind of understanding, a feeling that he knew what loneliness felt like. Vela looked back at the decorations. The dome no longer felt completely empty. The silence no longer felt sharp. The ache in her chest eased just a little. For the first time that day, she felt seen. She did not speak either. She simply breathed slowly, letting the moment settle between them. The stars outside shone softly. The lanterns glowed like warm fireflies. And for the first time on her birthday, Vela did not feel completely alone. Jonas did not say a single word, but somehow his presence said everything she needed. The quiet inside the observation dome of Helios Crown felt different now. It was no longer the heavy, lonely silence that had filled the room earlier. It was softer, like a gentle pause instead of an empty space. Vela sat beside Jonas Hale, unsure what to say, unsure what to feel. But strangely comforted by his presence, Jonas sat still, his hands folded on the table. He did not look confused or uncomfortable. He did not look like someone who had stumbled into the wrong room. He sat as if he came here on purpose, as if this empty party with glowing ribbons and untouched food was exactly where he needed to be. Vela's wings glowed faintly with a mix of nerves and curiosity. Finally, she gathered enough courage to speak. Hello, she said softly. Jonas nodded once. Hello. His voice was calm, steady, and quiet. It was not warm, but it was not cold either. It was simply honest. Vela waited for him to explain why he came. Maybe he would say he saw the invitation late. Maybe he would tell her he felt sorry for her. Or maybe he would say he didn't have anything better to do. But Jonas said nothing more. He simply looked at the decorations, his eyes following the drifting glow streamers as they floated gently in the reduced gravity. There was something thoughtful in his gaze, something almost peaceful. Vela shifted slightly in her seat. She was used to emotions being loud. Her empathic senses usually picked up strong feelings from others' excitement, frustration, jealousy, joy. But Jonas was different. His emotions were quiet, like deep water, calm on the surface, but she could sense something hidden far below. Did you come for the party? She asked in a small voice. Jonas didn't answer right away. He looked at her, meeting her bright, fragile eyes. I came because I thought you shouldn't be alone, he said simply. The words settled in Vela's heart like a warm stone. Humans often spoke carelessly, their emotions rushing out like storms. But Jonas's words carried weight. They felt deliberate, real. Vela folded her hands in her lap. Thank you, she whispered. Jonas nodded again. A short silence followed. But it wasn't the painful kind. It was the kind that let Vela breathe a little easier. She stood slowly and reached for a plate. "Would you like to try some luminary sweets?" Jonas blinked. "Sure." She gave him a small piece of crystal fruit. It sparkled in the lantern light like a shard of frozen sunrise. He examined it briefly before taking a bite. To Vela's surprise, his expression changed slightly. His eyes widened just a little. "It tastes like starlight mixed with sugar," he said. Vela's wings fluttered happily. "That's what it's supposed to taste like." Jonas placed the rest of the fruit on the small plate, looking thoughtful. "It's good. No excitement. No exaggeration. Just genuine honesty again." Vela felt some of her sadness fade for a few minutes. She and Jonas tasted a few more small foods. He tried the cloud bread, which melted on the tongue like sweet air. He took a sip of nectar tea, and a faint warmth spread across his face. Then he asked, "Why are the decorations glowing like that?" Vela smiled shyly. She was happy to explain something from her culture. "It is traditional. The light represents the year I live and the year I hope to live next. Every streamer is a promise of learning and growing." Jonas looked up at the drifting ribbons. "So your people celebrate by sharing light?" "Yes," she said softly. "Light is very important to us." He nodded as if he understood something she did not say. The dome lights flickered slightly when the station rotated, sending a wave of shadows across the decorations. In that momentary dimness, Vela felt a small pang of embarrassment again. "Jonas," she asked quietly, "why do you think no one came?" She wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer, but she needed to ask. Jonas thought for a moment. "People miss things. They get busy. They get distracted. Sometimes they don't see what matters. Do you think they did not want to come?" Vela's voice trembled. Jonas looked directly at her. "I think they didn't understand how important it was." Vela exhaled slowly. Her wings glowed brighter, just a little. His answer felt honest, but not cruel. It gave her space to breathe. She looked around the room again. For the first time, she saw the decorations not as a symbol of failure, but as something beautiful she had made. Jonas leaned back slightly in his chair, still watching the soft lights drift. "Your decorations," he said, choosing his words carefully. "They remind me of something." "What?" Vela asked. He pointed upward at the floating lanterns. "On Earth, when I was little, my town had a festival each winter. People hung small lights everywhere to fight the darkness. For one night, everything glowed. Streets, trees, windows. Even the cold air looked warm." Vela listened closely. Humans rarely talked about their home worlds unless they trusted the person. "Your lights feel like that," Jonas finished quietly. Vela's heart warmed. "That sounds beautiful." "It was," Jonas said. But his eyes looked distant, like he was remembering something bittersweet. Another silence settled between them. This time it was soft, like a warm blanket. After a while, Vela asked gently, "Jonas, did you come because you know what loneliness feels like?" Jonas did not answer immediately, but after a small pause, he said, "Yes." Vela's wings dimmed a little, matching the sadness she sensed in him. She didn't push him for more. She simply nodded, showing she understood. Jonas appreciated that. She could feel it. The two of them sat quietly for a few minutes. The stars outside shimmered through the wide windows. The station's engines hummed softly. The faint glow from Vela's wings painted gentle blue light across the table. Then Jonas said something unexpected. "May I ask you something?" Vela nodded quickly. "Of course. Why did you invite everyone?" he asked. Vela blinked, surprised. Because I wanted to make friends. I wanted to share something from my culture. I wanted them to know me." Jonas looked around the empty room. "You worked hard on all this?" "Yes," Vela whispered. "I wanted it to be special." "It is special," Jonas said. And for the first time his voice carried a hint of warmth. "Even with only two people here." Vela felt her heart flutter. Jonas stood from his chair and walked toward one of the drifting glow streamers. He touched it gently, and it bobbed upward, glowing brighter in response to his movement. "They missed something good," he said quietly. Vela's wings shone a soft pink of gratitude. "Thank you, Jonas." He looked back at her. "Do you want to show me the birthday ritual?" The Light origami stars? Her eyes widened with surprise. You want to learn? I asked. He said simply. Vela smiled, small at first, then fuller. She reached for a small box on the table and pulled out thin sheets of glowing paper. She handed one to Jonas. This is how you fold them, she said, guiding his hands gently. Jonas followed her movements patiently, folding each corner as she instructed. His large, clumsy human hands struggled at first, but he didn't complain. He kept trying until the paper shaped into a glowing star. Vela's wings brightened. You did it. Jonas held up the small star, watching the soft light pulse from within. It's nice. It represents hope, Vela said. A wish for the next year? Jonas looked at her carefully. What is your wish? Vela looked at the glowing star in her own hands. After a long pause, she whispered, I wish not to be alone. Jonas stared at the star for a moment. Then he said quietly, That's a good wish. He placed his glowing star beside hers on the table. And now you have company to make it with. Vela smiled genuinely. Freely for the first time that day. In that dim, glowing dome on a quiet orbital station, a bond began to form. A silent understanding grew between an alien girl with glowing wings and a human boy with deep, hidden sadness. The party may not have begun the way she expected, but something far more important had started instead. The soft glow of the lanterns washed the observation dome in warm light. Vela and Jonas sat together, their small folded stars resting beside each other on the long table. Outside the window, space stretched out like an endless black ocean sprinkled with silver lights. It felt peaceful, like the universe itself was listening to their quiet conversation. Vela's wings gave off a gentle glow. She felt lighter now, as if some great weight had slowly lifted from her heart. She still did not understand why Jonas had come to her lonely birthday party, but she knew the reason wasn't pity. His presence didn't feel forced. It felt natural, calm, steady, and real. For a long moment, they sat without speaking. The silence between them was comfortable, like a blanket wrapped around their shoulders. Vela was used to feeling the emotions of others, but Jonas's emotions remained soft and deep, like something hidden beneath still water. After a while, Jonas asked quietly, Do your people always celebrate this way, with light and stars? Vela nodded. Yes, light is very important to us. It reminds us that hope can glow even in darkness. Jonas looked around the dome again. It's beautiful. Thank you, Vela said, her voice shy. I tried to make it look like home. Jonas leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. His eyes traced the streamers drifting lazily in the air. I've never seen anything like it before. Vela hesitated. Then she asked softly, Have you ever had a birthday party, Jonas? The question hung in the air. She felt his emotions shift soft, uncertain, like a ripple in calm water. I used to, he said quietly. Oh, Vela whispered. Used to. Jonas didn't look at her. He looked at the stars outside instead. When I was younger. Sure, but things change. Vela didn't push. She knew what sadness felt like. She knew when to let someone keep their pain hidden. She folded her hands gently in her lap. Thank you for coming to mine, she said. Jonas finally looked at her. His brown eyes were calm, but there was a soft sadness hiding in their depth. I'm glad I did. A gentle vibration shook the dome. For a moment as the station rotated, and a small holographic projector on the wall flickered to life, it displayed a slow-spinning model of the galaxy. A small educational program that played every hour. Jonas watched the hologram turn. Do your people live far from here? Very far, Vela said. She pointed to a bright spiral arm. My home world is deep inside the Luminary Nebula. And you came all the way to this academy, Jonas murmured. It was always my dream. Vela said softly, to learn from other species, to understand the galaxy, to be part of something bigger. Jonas nodded. That's brave. Vela blinked. Brave? Most people stay close to what they know, he said. Not everyone tries to go somewhere completely new. She never thought of it that way. She had always felt small, fragile, easily overlooked. To hear someone call her brave made her wings glow a little brighter. And you? She asked gently. Why did you come here? Jonas exhaled slowly. I wanted a fresh start. Vela sensed the truth in his voice, a quiet but heavy truth, one he wasn't ready to share fully. So she respected it. After a while, Jonas stood up and walked toward the observation window. He placed a hand on the glass, staring into the vastness of space. The faint light from distant stars reflected in his eyes. Vela walked to stand beside him. Her wings glowed a soft blue. As she looked out at the universe with him, Jonas spoke without taking his eyes off the stars. Do you ever feel small? Vela smiled gently. All the time, even when your wings glow like that? He asked, almost teasing. My wings glow because I feel things deeply, she said. Small or large. The feelings come, Jonas nodded. Yeah, I get that. Vela tilted her head. Do humans feel small too? Sometimes, Jonas said. Especially out here. They stood in silence again. The weight of the galaxy pressed against the glass, yet somehow the moment felt safe. After a while, Vale walked back to the table and picked up another sheet of glowing star paper. Would you like to make another one? She asked. Jonas looked at her. Another? To make another wish, she said softly. You don't have to tell me what it is. Jonas hesitated, then walked back and took a sheet from her hands. He sat down again, folding the soft glowing paper slowly and carefully. Vale watched him for a few seconds, then joined him, her delicate fingers folding her own star. As they worked, Jonas asked, What is your second wish? Vale looked at the star she was folding. I wish to make at least one true friend. Jonas's hands paused mid-fold. Vale quickly shook her head. You don't have to. But Jonas spoke quietly. That's a good wish. Her wings warmed with soft pink light. And what is your wish? She asked gently. Jonas looked down at his folded star. I don't know yet. Vela nodded. It is okay. Wishes take time. They placed their second glowing stars on the table beside the first ones. For lights pulsed softly like tiny beating hearts. Suddenly, the doors to the dome hissed open. Footsteps echoed across the floor. Both Jonas and Vale turned. A group of students stood at the entrance. 3 Scythery reptile cadets into human students. They stopped short when they saw the glowing decorations and the two of them sitting together. A tall Scythery girl muttered, Oh, this was today. Another whispered. I completely forgot. Vela stiffened. Her wings dimmed. Jonas watched them carefully. But he didn't speak. One of the human cadets stepped forward awkwardly. Vela, sorry. I had extra training. And then I remembered something else. It's okay. Vale said softly, even though it was in single quotes T. The group lingered for a moment, then drifted away again. One of them shrugged before turning around. Well, happy birthday, I guess. They left as quickly as they came. Vale stood frozen. The small ache returned to her chest. Her wings dimmed almost to nothing. Jonas's voice cut through the quiet. They didn't mean to hurt you. Vale looked at him sadly. But they did. Jonas nodded once. Yes, they did. His honesty shocked her. Humans often tried to hide the truth to protect feelings. But Jonas respected her enough to say it plainly. But you're not alone. He added. Vale blinked. Because you are here. Yes. Her wings glowed again. Jonas stood and reached for the nearest lantern. He lifted it gently and placed it in the center of the table. Tell me the meaning of this one, he said. Vale's eyes widened with surprise. You want to know more. You wanted to share your culture. Jonas said. So share it. Vale felt her heart warm. She walked to the row of lanterns and touched each one. One by one, she explained their meanings: hope, peace, memory, family, courage, and dreams. Jonas listened carefully to every word, giving her his full attention, something no one else had ever done before. As she spoke, the dome grew brighter. Her wings shone more strongly. Filled with gratitude and renewed confidence, Jonas watched her wings glow like soft stars. And for the first time since he had arrived at the academy, he felt a kind of peace too. When she finished explaining the last lantern, Jonas looked at her and said quietly, This is the best birthday party I've ever been to. Vela's breath caught. Her wings flared with brilliant blue light. No one came, she whispered. I came, Jonas said, and that made it enough. as the stars outside drifted past the dome. Vela realized something important. Sometimes one person, just one, was enough to change everything. And for the first time in her life at Helios Crown, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she belonged. The observation dome of Helios Crown was glowing softly when Jonas and Vale finally stepped out. Their folded stars remained on the table inside, for tiny lights pulsing in the quiet room. Vela felt warm from within, her wings bright and peaceful. Jonas walked beside her calmly, hands in his pockets, his expression steady as always. The hallway outside the dome was busier than usual. Evening lights had dimmed to a soft purple, and students from many species walked past, chatting loudly or rushing to late activities. Most of them didn't even notice the two students walking together. Vela didn't mind. She felt different now, lighter, braver, steadier. But Jonas suddenly stopped walking. Vela turned to him. "Is something wrong?" Jonas shook his head. "Just thinking." "About what?" she asked softly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced back toward the dome. The glowing lights from her birthday decorations still shone faintly through the windows. "You worked hard today," he said finally. "I'm glad I saw it." Vela smiled shyly. "I am glad you came." They continued walking down the corridor. But the peaceful moment was broken suddenly when a sharp voice rang out, "Cadet Hale." Jonas stopped instantly. His shoulders stiffened. Vela looked up at him, surprised by the sudden tension. From the far end of the hallway, Director Oren, the Academy's stern training supervisor, was marching toward them. The director was tall, with a stiff posture and a uniform that always seemed too tight. His expression looked carved from stone. Vela felt Jonas's emotions flicker calm on the surface, but tense underneath. "Cadet Hale," Director Oren repeated, stopping right in front of him. "Where were you this evening?" Jonas answered with his usual quiet tone. "In the observation dome. Not at the mandatory formation drills," the director said sharply. "You missed them." "Yes," Jonas replied simply. Vela watched nervously. She had never seen Jonas speak with an instructor before. She sensed that he was calm, but there was something heavy in his emotions, like he expected trouble. "Those drills were required," the director continued. "Every student attended. Except you." Jonas didn't defend himself. Director Oren's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Vela stepped forward before she even realized it. "He came to my birthday," she said softly. Director Oren blinked, confused. "Your birthday?" "None of the other students came," Vela admitted, her wings dimming a little with embarrassment. "I was alone." Jonas didn't look at her, but she sensed a quiet gratitude from him. Director Oren turned to Jonas. "You skipped training to attend a birthday party?" For the first time, Jonas's steady voice held something firm. "I didn't skip training to attend a party," he said. "I stayed because she was alone." The director's expression hardened. "Cadet Hale, this academy trains future explorers of the galaxy, not social volunteers. You are expected to take your duties seriously." Jonas didn't back down. "I take them seriously," he said. "Clearly not," the director shot back. Jonas finally looked up, meeting the director's strict stare. His voice was quiet, but steady like stone. "A human doesn't leave someone alone on their birthday." The hallway fell silent. Vela's wings glowed with surprise. Students who were passing by slowed down to listen. Even Director Oren paused. Jonas continued calmly. "Training matters. Discipline matters. But people matter too." For a long moment, no one spoke. Director Oren opened his mouth, closed it again, then finally said with a stiff voice, "We will discuss this tomorrow in my office." "Yes, sir," Jonas said. The director walked away, still confused by the unexpected defiance. Vela looked at Jonas with wide eyes. "You did not have to say that. I wasn't going to lie," Jonas said simply. "But you might get in trouble." "Maybe," he said. "But I'm not going to apologize for doing the right thing." Vela's wings shone a soft pink of admiration. She whispered, "Humans are different." Jonas looked at her curiously. "Different how?" "Loud sometimes, strange, emotional," she said honestly. "But also loyal and brave." Jonas raised an eyebrow. "I don't think I'm loud." "No," Vela said with a small laugh. You are the quietest human I have met. Jonas shrugged. Maybe that's my talent. They continued walking, but something had changed. Other students who had seen the moment whispered. A few glanced at Vela with guilt. A few looked at Jonas with surprise, some impressed, some confused. They headed toward the Academy's central gardens, where soft lights illuminated rows of floating plants from dozens of planets. The air smelled faintly of sweet pollen. It was calm here, away from the busy corridors. Vela sat on a bench, wings folded neatly behind her. Jonas sat beside her, hands resting on his knees. Jonas, Vela said softly, why did you speak like that to the director? Were you not afraid? Jonas looked up at the glowing leaves above them. Not afraid. Just tired. Tired? Of watching people get ignored, he said simply. Vela's heart tugged. You have seen it before? Jonas nodded slowly. Too many times. Vela sensed the heaviness behind his words. He wasn't just talking about tonight. He was talking about memories, old ones, deep ones. She didn't push. Jonas spoke when he wanted, and she respected that. After a minute, he said, when someone is alone, it's easy for others not to notice. People walk past. People forget. People say they're busy. And then the person left behind starts to believe they don't matter. Vela looked at him gently. Is that how you felt before? Jonas didn't answer, but the silence was enough. Vela placed one glowing hand on top of his. A soft light spread from her fingers, warm and gentle. You mattered to me today, she said. Jonas didn't move his hand away. You mattered to me too. They sat quietly, watching the floating plants sway in the garden's soft breeze. After a while, Vela whispered, I want others to know what you did. You don't have to tell anyone, Jonas said. But it is important, Vela insisted softly. Humans are often loud and strong and fast in the stories I hear. But today I learned something else. Jonas raised an eyebrow. What? That your strength is not always loud, she said. Sometimes your strength is silent, kind, brave. Jonas's face softened, just a little. Maybe. Vela folded her hands in her lap. You showed me something tonight, Jonas. What? That one person, one friend, can change an entire memory. Jonas looked away, like he didn't know how to respond to that. But Vela sensed the warmth in his emotions. They sat together until the garden lights dimmed to evening mode. Stars shone through the transparent ceiling above. The entire Academy station hummed quietly as it rotated. Vela's wings pulsed softly. Do you think Director Orrin is still angry? Probably. Are you worried? Jonas shook his head. Not really. Why? Jonas turned to her. Because I know I did the right thing. And sometimes, doing the right thing matters more than doing the expected thing. Vela's wings glowed brightly with admiration. Round them, a few students whispered and watched, but not with the dismissive distance from earlier. Their faces showed curiosity, guilt, or respect. A Scythery boy even approached nervously before backing away, unsure what to say. Jonas noticed. Looks like people are talking. Vela smiled softly. Maybe they will remember the light next time, or maybe they'll show up next time, Jonas added. Vela's wings brightened. Maybe, above them, the stars in the garden ceiling shimmered. For the first time since she joined the Academy, Vela didn't feel invisible. And Jonas, the quiet human who rarely spoke, had caused the change without raising his voice, not even once. Humanity was loud in many stories. But tonight, its power came in silence. The morning after Vela's birthday arrived quietly. The Academy halls were calm, filled with the usual soft hum of the floating station. But Jonas Hale walked through the corridors with a steady, serious expression. Today he had to meet Director Orrin. Today, he might face punishment for missing training. Vela walked beside him, her wings dimmer than usual. She was nervous, though she tried to hide it. Are you sure I should come with you? She asked softly. You don't have to, Jonas replied. But I want to. Jonas didn't argue. He simply nodded, and the two continued toward the administrative hall. Students they passed whispered quietly. Some looked at Vela with guilt, others at Jonas with curiosity. The story of last night had already spread through the Academy. How the quiet human had confronted the strict director. How he had chosen kindness over training. Some students even stepped aside as they walked past, giving them space. Vela's wings glowed faintly in surprise each time Jonas didn't react. He just kept walking. When they reached Director Orn's door, Vela's wings fluttered nervously. Jonas looked at her. "It'll be fine," she nodded. Though she wasn't sure she believed it, the door opened. Director Orn stood behind his desk, hands clasped behind his back, face unreadable. "Cadet Hale," he said firmly. "Enter." Jonas stepped in. Vela hesitated. Director Orn raised an eyebrow. "Cadet Vela, you were not called." Jonas spoke before she could answer. "She can stay, sir. I won't discuss last night without her." Director Orn blinked, surprised at the quiet defiance. After a moment, he motioned toward a chair. "Very well. Sit." Jonas and Vela sat side by side. The director studied Jonas for a long moment. "Your instructors say you show excellent discipline, perfect attendance, strong focus. But last night, you broke that pattern." Jonas remained calm. "Yes, you missed mandatory formation drills. I know. You ignored the Academy's rules. Yes. You spoke to me with unexpected boldness." Jonas didn't apologize. "Yes." Director Orn leaned forward. "Why?" Jonas took a breath. Vela was alone. He said simply, "It was her birthday." And everyone else forgot. Director Orn's expression tightened. "Cadet Vela may handle herself. She does not require rescue." Vela lowered her head, wings dimming. Jonas shook his head. "It wasn't about rescuing her. It was about being a decent person." Director Orn frowned. "Decent? A good human doesn't leave someone alone on a day that should feel special," Jonas said. "Not when he can do something about it." Vela looked at him with soft, glowing admiration. Director Orn sighed. "Cadet Hale, you cannot prioritize personal feelings over training. Explorers must be reliable." "Reliability isn't just about drills," Jonas said quietly. "It's also about loyalty and compassion." Director Orn opened his mouth, but Jonas continued, still calm. "You can punish me if you want. I won't argue, but I won't say I regret choosing kindness. Because I don't." The room fell silent. Director Orn leaned back slowly. "Your honesty is unusual." Vela watched carefully. Jonas didn't move. "For now," the director said at last, "you will receive a written warning. No further punishment." Vela gasped softly in relief. Jonas nodded. "Thank you, sir." Director Orn added, "But understand this, Cadet Hale. The Academy will expect more from you in the future." Jonas simply replied, "I understand." Dismissed, Jonas stood. Vela stood with him. They bowed politely and left the room. The hallway outside felt brighter, as if the entire station had exhaled. Vela turned to Jonas with glowing wings. "You did not get punished." "A warning is still a punishment," Jonas said, but he didn't seem bothered. "It is small." Vela insisted. "I worried it would be worse." Jonas glanced at her gently. "You didn't have to worry. I could not help it," she said quietly. They walked toward the gardens again. Students glanced at them, but not with the same distance as before. Some offered nods. A few even smiled shyly. Something had changed in the Academy atmosphere. "Jonas," Vela said softly, "may I ask something?" "Sure. Why did you stand up to the director for me? You could have just said you were busy. He would have believed you." Jonas paused near a glowing plant. Its blue leaves floated gently in the air. "I didn't want to lie," he said. "But still, why take the risk?" Jonas looked at her wings, glowing softly in morning light. "Because people matter," he said. "Not rules, not schedules, people." Vela felt warmth spread through her chest. "You make it sound so simple." "It is," Jonas said. "But not everyone acts that way." Jonas shrugged. "Someone has to." They walked further into the gardens. The Academy's artificial sunlight filtered through the transparent ceiling. Small floating lights danced between plants, following the gentle breeze. As they reached a quiet corner, Vela sat on her usual bench. Jonas sat beside her. "Last night," Vela began, "something changed." "What do you mean?" Jonas asked. "I think the other students realized something. That maybe kindness matters too." Jonas thought for a moment. "Maybe, and I think I realized something too." He turned to her. What? Vela touched the glowing pendant he had given her the night before. Her voice was soft, that humans, even the quiet ones, carry a light inside them. A light that changes things. Jonas looked away, slightly embarrassed. I'm not that special. You are, Vela said gently. Maybe not in a loud way, but in a strong way. Jonas didn't argue. He stared at the garden floor instead. After a moment, Vela continued. When I joined this academy, I thought I would always be in the background. Always quiet. Always unnoticed. Her wings dimmed at the memory. I thought maybe that was my place in life. Jonas listened silently. But last night, you made me feel seen, she said. Really seen. For the first time, Jonas finally turned toward her. His expression softened. You should never feel invisible. Vela smiled gently. Thank you. A small pause followed. Then Jonas said something unexpected. I didn't do it just for you. Vela blinked. What do you mean? Jonas looked up at the ceiling, where simulated stars gleamed softly. I did it because I know what it feels like, he said quietly, to be alone on a day that should have felt special. Vela's wings froze. You were alone on your birthday before? Jonas didn't answer directly. He just nodded slowly. Vela's eyes softened. She reached out and lightly touched his hand. I am sorry. Jonas shook his head. It's past, but I promised myself something back then. What promise? That if I ever saw someone else in that position, I wouldn't walk away. Vela felt her wings warm with deep emotion. Jonas. But Jonas stood suddenly, brushing off his uniform anyway. It's done. He turned to her with a small, almost shy smile. I'm glad your birthday was good. It was perfect, Vela said softly. They left the garden together and returned to class. And throughout the day, something remarkable happened. Students who had ignored Vela before now greeted her with small nods. Some even apologized quietly. One placed a small, glowing leaf on her desk, a belated gift. Another asked Jonas politely if he wanted to join them for a study group. No one was loud. No one made a big show. But something had changed in the academy's atmosphere. Jonas had shifted something with a single act of quiet courage. Instructors noticed it too. Conversations were softer. Students were more careful with each other. A few even approached Vela, curious about her talents, her wings, her culture. For the first time, she didn't feel like a background student, because someone had stood beside her, someone who believed that people mattered most. That evening, as the academy lights dimmed to twilight, Jonas and Vela stood by the large viewing window that looked out into space. The stars stretched endlessly, glittering like scattered diamonds. Vela whispered, Do you think this moment will fade? Jonas shook his head. Kindness doesn't fade. It spreads. Vela smiled. Like light, exactly like light. They stood quietly, watching distant galaxies glow. In that calm silence, the friends, one glowing softly, one steady as stone, carried a small but powerful light. Between them, a light that could outshine loneliness, a light that could soften strict rules, a light that could change people, a light that could start with just one person, then spread to another, and another. And another. Until the whole academy felt a little warmer, a little brighter. A little more human.